Okay. Can you state your name and your major?
I am Jenny Perez, and I'm a psychology major
Okay.
at Brooklyn College.
Okay. What is your interpretation of diversity?
Diversity would be, like, to me, like a mixture of things present in one place.
Okay. What's your opinion on diversity, and how do you embrace it in your life?
I think diversity is important. It's a way for people to, like, learn about others, and in my life, I think I'm a pretty diverse person. Like, there's different things that are present within me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to have it because people have to be able to look outside themselves and see other walks of life. And even, like, within groups, there's, like, differences, so that's also important to, like, keep in mind.
Okay. How do you think that your major and, like, what you do in school affects how you feel or how you embrace diversity?
I definitely think that psychology's shown me how maybe, like, the way we think could affect the way we embrace other people. So, like, your background or your upbringing, just where you are, like your location and stuff. I've definitely embraced it more. Like, you know, you have limitations that you have that, like, you grow up with. So I think it's helped me because it's opened my mind a little bit more.
Okay.
But I also think I've wanted to do that, so not a lot of people want to do that.
So you got into psychology to, in one way or another, embrace diversity?
I guess so, yeah, in a way. Not specifically diversity, but I guess to understand different things,
Okay.
different kinds of people, or yeah, I think it's important. Like, we can't just look at things in one way. So if you're looking at something and you have one mindset, it's not going to be able to, like, translate to the rest of the people, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any hobbies or interests that might also embrace diversity, or just in general
Yeah,
show that?
I really like to cook. So,
Okay.
and I don't just cook, like, one type of food. Like, I think it's fun to try new things out. So, like,
Can you give an
making,
example?
like, if you make, like, a stir fry, and, like, even that's, like, diverse, right? Because you put, like, a bunch of different kinds of vegetables, and, like, I don't have to only put, like, soy sauce and, like, sesame oil. Like, I can also put, like, a Peruvian hot pepper. I'm
Okay.
Peruvian. So that's cool, because in Peru, too, like, a lot of the food is, like, Asian fusion. So it's cool. Like, it makes it tastier. It's enjoyable. And I also paint and, like, make different kinds of art. So I've been really getting into, like, collaging.
Okay.
So I think that's also, like, putting different things together and, like, making it one visual.
Okay, so that's almost pretty on the nose with
Yeah.
the idea of diversity.
Yeah. There was the artist that made the portrait for, like, Obama and Michelle, and, like, that was so colorful and, like, vibrant. Like, everyone was, like, really happy to see that because it was so different from the other portraits. So, and it was the first time, like, that artist made, like, you know, like, a really big commission for this president. So I think little by little, like, people are also trying to, like, broaden their options, you know, like,
You mean, like, the world in general?
I mean, hopefully. I see, like, some people doing it, you know, like, obviously not everyone, but
Are there any other hobbies that you might have that include that?
I really like talking to people. So, like,
That works?
yeah, like, I guess in class, or even, like, on your commute, like, little exchanges you have with people, I think goes a long way, you know? Because being in a subway, you're just, like, you're trying to get to your destination, and everyone's just, like, in their own world, and that's fine too. Like, but we're all here too, you know, together.
Yeah. So you rather embrace the fact that you're all in the same space at once?
Yeah, like it's not bad to like exchange a smile with someone or like.
No, I don't see why not.
Yeah, but it's looked at as like weird or like odd here because
we have like a culture and kind of like unwritten laws about that.
Right.
Yeah.
But then there's so many cultures like present here too. So like it seems like a lot of people feel like they have to assimilate to that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, we don't have to. And I think that's what's cool when you do come across people that are also on the same page with you. You're like, all right, cool. Like we could talk and it's not weird. And then we'll go about our day. And
so you mentioned the subway. That kind of brings me to my next point. Like you obviously live here in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. What about moving? Because you came from the island. Mm-hmm. What's the difference to you? And do you think that diversity, like the difference of like cultures, has affected you?
Yeah, I actually didn't notice until I got here. I mean, obviously, because I grew up there all my life, so it was kind of a shock. Like I didn't notice how much of myself or my background that I was not embracing, you know, or like.
You mean like your own background?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see a lot of that here, as opposed to previously? I see a lot of people holding on to different parts of their roots here, but in Long Island I wasn't. You know, there's so much more. Long Island. Okay.
On Long Island, there's like you're like surrounded by people that are much more different than you, or it doesn't seem like it, but you find yourself trying to like live the same kind of life or look the same way, and you don't really realize how exhausting it is until after, and you're like, wow, this is actually not the way I want to live. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's not to say that I've like changed myself, but I think I've gotten in touch with more things that I find important.
Like, could you give any examples?
I guess the way I present myself.
Okay. How so?
I guess like with growing up in Long Island or on Long Island, there's like a certain way of like, so all girls straighten their hair, and I have pretty curly hair, so that would waste like an hour of my morning, you know.
Okay.
Or like the way you talk, you know. A lot of people are embarrassed of speaking Spanish or any other language in front of other people that don't speak it. Yeah, and
I feel like I would be kind of proud of that, but that's probably because I'm coming from the outside.
Yeah, I mean, I am proud of it, and I never had a problem with it. But I had friends growing up on Long Island that would do the same. Like they'd walk out the room if they had to speak in another language. And
you think that's because of discrimination, or just because of like maybe not outwardly, but maybe just because they were expecting discrimination?
Yeah, and that could also mean that maybe their parents feel the same way, because the only reason why I never felt any kind of embarrassment from speaking Spanish is because my parents kind of pushed speaking Spanish to me. They made that a big deal. Like, you have to speak Spanish. Like, that would be something that gives you an advantage in the future. So I always kept that in mind. And that's also just being truthful to yourself, you know? Like, you can't ignore that part of you. It makes you who you are. So
yes.
But that also doesn't mean that I'm not American, even though I don't want to identify myself as an American, especially now. But you have to. Like, I grew up here. I'm not gonna say like I'm completely Peruvian. Like, there's so many parts of my identity. So it's good to keep that all in mind, because you can't ignore things, you know.
Okay.
It's cool to have like different spots. Like the New Yorkers have like a spot. It's like New York Puerto Ricans.
Oh, okay.
They have like poetry slams and like people that just do like visual artists like also perform there.
Is it culture based, or is it just because they're all the same culture?
It is culture based, and you don't have to be Puerto Rican to present your things there. So it's cool because it's an open space, but it does keep that like identity in its name because they don't want to forget about it. But they're also like welcoming to other cultures. So I guess that's something that I really admire. I'm like, we need places like this, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think I've ever even heard of something like that before. So that's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, in Brooklyn or in the city, really, like you find a lot of that, and it's nice to see a place that has a spot for everyone. But then again, you also have to keep in mind like that segregation like is still present too, because all these neighborhoods are also separated, and
yeah, there's like undrawn lines of where cultures can end their spot.
Right, and it's not to say that they can't go there. Obviously, that's not allowed anymore either, but it's been present for so long that it's still in people's on people's minds that they have to.
Now, what about like your identity with your own culture? How do you feel about that and bring that into diversity?
Well, I think my identity is pretty diverse, because I grew up like as a first generation.
First generation. Does that mean you're the first one to be born in America, or is it the first one
my
to come?
family.
Okay. Gotcha.
My parents were born in Peru. Oh, my whole family was. My siblings too. So I was the firstborn here, but they would always consider me to be American.
Compared to you, compared to being Peruvian.
I mean, there was no comparison. It was like, you're American.
Okay.
That's all it was. And like, even if I was to say like I'm Peruvian, they're like, no, Jenny, like you're American. Like you were born here. That's.
Do they identify as being American?
No. And that's why I always identified as being Peruvian, because that's my family and they're part of me. So I thought it would be okay for me to do the same, but I had to accept that too, that, you know, I'm not just Peruvian. And it's cool because I could pick whatever I want to incorporate into my life. It doesn't I'm not limited to things unless I put that limit on myself. And I've seen myself do that before. You
think in the past you've been like more like one-sided or like not embracing either being American or Peruvian?
Yeah. I think it was easier to embrace things that were around, that were more accepted. So I guess finding like comfortability within yourself is like the first thing I had to do.
So at the moment, what do you think that you're identifying as? Are you Peruvian American?
I still say Peruvian.
You're just Peruvian? Okay.
I mean, I feel like if someone asks me, they're not asking like, were you born here?
No.
You know, but that's what people assume. Like, they're like, where are you from? And I always ask like where I grew up or where my family's from, because I'm from Long Island.
Yeah.
That's where I was born and raised. So, and I could say I'm American, but that also, like, people give you looks too. It's like, you're brown. You're not white. So like, are you American? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess it depends on who's asking too, because if someone from a similar background of mine is asking me that, I know that they're asking what country my family's from.
So you can, obviously it's pretty easy to tell what people are asking.
Yeah.
Just on who they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially when they're like, what are you?
Great.
Like, I don't know. I don't know what I am.
I think that's really all the questions I have.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.